Everybody, welcome back to an Impromptu Truth. I'm your host, JW The Truth. And first off, I want to start off by saying thank you for everybody who's gone to the channel, liked, and subscribed. It's really appreciated. Today, we are joined by T. She's a pretty good friend of mine. She's really into the paranormal and everything like that. We've had a few discussions, and from what I gather, she grew up in a haunted house and she still lives there. So I'm going to introduce T. She can tell you about herself if she wants to, or she just jump right into it. So take it away, T.
Okay, thanks for having me. It's awesome.
No
So I live in a 1930s home. It was built early 30s. There is pretty much always activity going on. We constantly hear, see things out of the corner of our eye. My pets react all the time to something random.
Yeah, pets seem to always be in tune with that.
It's crazy what they'll see, and I won't even, I'll just be doing my thing, and I'll look over, and my dog's just staring upstairs for no reason.
Like somebody's
somebody's sitting at the top of the stairs. It's really weird. They'll do it like randomly looking into my kitchen too. So I feel like they definitely see a lot. It is an old house, so there's a lot of creaks and you hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we've heard voices are a constant thing. I'll come home from work and it's like a pin code to get in my door, and I'll be putting the pin code in, and I hear two women. It sounds like two women having a conversation, which sounds like inside my home. And it's so weird because you don't hear what they're saying, but you hear the different tones.
Like it's muffled, but you can make they're having a conversation with each other.
And it's women. Like you could hear the tone, but you don't know. And I open the door, and obviously nobody's there.
Yeah.
So that happens often, which is very creepy.
Okay.
There's been multiple times where I'll hear music coming from a different area of my home. And it's not like our music. It's like, the best way I can describe it is Titanic music.
Okay, like 20s, 30s. Yeah. So let's get a layout of your house. Is it like it's one story? How many bedrooms? Basement?
So I have the basement, the ground, the regular level, and then upstairs. So it's 3 total levels, 5 bedrooms. So it's a decent sized home.
Okay.
It was built from a barn in Parksville.
Now, when I used to deliver, I used to drive at the end of my route. I used to drive past your house, and at night, that shit does look pretty creepy.
It's dark in general, so because of all the dark wood, it's very dark inside. Okay. So I have a lot of lighting and stuff. But if you don't turn the lights on, it could be pretty creepy, just because it's dark.
Yeah, we're not worried about that. We're at work, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about the phone. No. But go ahead. So what? All right. So we're gonna backtrack a little bit. What is the first experience you can remember being at the house? Because you grew up in that house, right?
So when we bought the house in 1993, I was obviously a child.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I'll never forget it, walking into this house in the living room. You walk into the living room.
Yeah.
And it's a decent sized living room, and it was normal. I felt normal. But then if you go into the kitchen, there's a hallway that leads down the hall where the bedrooms and the bathroom are.
Okay.
And as a kid, I don't know any different. I walk into this hallway and I just felt uncomfortable. Okay. Very weird. Heavy, like something just wasn't right in this hallway.
All right.
And I've always felt that. Even to this day, I still feel like something is in that hallway. When my bedroom was at the end of that hallway. And as a child, I would have to keep my door closed constantly. Even if I was in my room for a couple minutes,
it had to be shut.
I had to shut it because it just terrified me, that hallway. Very odd. Can't explain it. The one time I was all alone, this was, shortly after my father passed away, so I was all alone in the house. I didn't even have animals at the time.
Okay.
And I'm in the bathroom, which is off of that hallway.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my thing. I'm talking to my mom on the phone, on speakerphone. I'm looking in the mirror. The door's behind me. And all of a sudden, I hear, and my mother heard it on the speakerphone, these very heavy, hard footsteps run down my hallway. I'm all alone. So my mother heard it on speakerphone. So instantly, I freak out, and I run outside. And she's like, I'm coming up there right now. I'm going to come up. There was nobody. All the doors were closed, so it's not even like a human could have, So that was very terrifying for me, the heavy, hard footsteps that I heard. Which we don't hear. I've never heard since, and I didn't hear before.
Is there a documented history of like somebody being killed or dying in that house or something? I mean, it's from the 30s, so
right. There's probably something. I did hear the original owners did die of old age in the
Okay.
home. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. There was a young girl. She died at 14 years old on Halloween night. She was not in the home. She was out with her friends.
Okay.
So, my father has claimed to have seen her, and he did not believe in anything of this sort.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, there was nothing, he couldn't see it, So he would see her. He says it was her, like, standing in the hallway when he'd be sitting on the couch looking toward that area.
hallway you're still creepy about.
Correct. The hallway
Okay.
I'm still creeped out about. And for my dad to say that, it was very weird for me.
Like, you're taking it back, like, oh, if he's talking about it, it must be
Something.
true.
Right. It kind of verified my feelings for it, because as humans, I feel like we try to push it out and we try to find explanations for these things that happen to us.
Yeah.
And for him to say that was definitely clarified it for me a little, that I was feeling something for a reason.
Okay. So that was your first experience in the house.
Yes.
Let's dive in. What's the creepiest one you've ever experienced? And then right after that, where in the house is the most activity located?
So, I've never felt like something was going to harm me in my home.
Okay.
Until this one moment. So, I see you
bring it
know,
up.
it
Take
gets
a breather.
me anxious. This was brutal for me. Like, I think about this almost daily, James.
Okay.
Because I don't have an explanation for it, and it
Yeah.
bothers me. But, so one afternoon, it was just a normal afternoon.
How long ago was this?
I'd say about 4 or 5 years tops.
Oh, so while you were working here?
Well, yeah, I was working here. Yep.
Okay.
I was single at the time, so it was just me and my dogs
Mhm.
hanging out. I was sitting on my couch reading a book. TV was off because I'm reading and whatever. So out of nowhere, from underneath me in my basement, I hear, the best way I could describe it was a barrel or a bucket of chains being dragged across the floor. It was so loud. So I froze solid. My dogs start freaking out, obviously. I calm them down. I stand up at this point, and I'm just listening. I'm listening for anything.
Okay.
My brain's going crazy. I hear it again right under me. And it was just so loud. And
like right underneath the position you were in?
I felt it through the floorboards, like a slight vibration. Like, it was the craziest thing. It sounded like somebody was downstairs in my basement moving a big bucket of chains or something across the floor.
You don't have a bucket of chains in your
basement. There's nothing, and there's nobody there. It's just me. And you can't get into my basement from outside. You can't. It's padlocked on the inside.
Yeah.
So I'm instantly freaking out. So I go run into my kitchen, and on the side of the wall, I have like a baseball bat that's chilling there. So I grab this baseball bat, and I'm like, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm terrified, but I have to figure out what this is. Somebody's in my house.
If somebody's down there, you get the ass beat.
Right. Like, I mean, I'm a small girl, but I'm going to do whatever I can, obviously. So I'm terrified. So I head downstairs, and my basement stairs go into a big room when you go down. So the lights are at the top of the stairs. Turn on the lights. I'm obviously shaking, scared, walking down, looking everywhere. I'm in this one room. There's nobody there. There's nothing. There's one place for them to hide, and that's behind my furnace. There's nobody behind my furnace.
It's well lit down there?
It's well lit when you turn on the lights. So that's the half of the basement. So I'm standing in this room that's well lit. The furnace is there. Nobody's around. And I hear the sound again come from the other room of my basement. So there's
two rooms in your basement?
Yes. There's 3.5 pretty much.
All right.
So the 2 rooms I checked out when I first got downstairs, they're lit up like a Christmas tree. Nobody's down there. So in the dark, in the other room, I hear that sound again. The dragging of a bucket or something.
Just as loud as it was
Just
before?
as loud. And it was 15 feet away from me, maybe 10 feet away from me, in the dark in this room. So I don't know what's in there, but I turn on the switch, which is right in the doorway.
Yeah.
It's fluorescent lights, so it blinks, and I'm looking around.
That's
crazy.
the fluttering thing.
Yeah, right. So there's nothing there. So there's a couple more places for somebody that could hide there. So I'm looking around everywhere, not a human being to be found.
I'd have been tapping on the wall with the bat, like, yo, get the fuck out of my house.
It was terrifying. So there's this tiny little water room off of that big, large room that I just heard that noise in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in that little room, and there's nowhere for anybody to hide in there. It's so tiny. And I'm just in there just because I have to check it. And then from behind me, literally it was 5 feet. It had to be 5 feet. I hear this sound again, right behind me, of this dragging of this bucket. At this point, I'm not freaking out, but I'm crying because I'm terrified. You know, I'm looking everywhere, I'm frantic. And at this point, I just screamed, "Stop fucking with me," because it felt like it was making me chase it.
It like, follow me.
Yeah.
I'm playing with
Like,
you.
that's what I felt like, it was fucking with me. And I was just terrified. So I screamed this, and then never, it was just complete silence. Never again have I heard it. Never again has anything that crazy happened.
So, T, I just want to let you know, this is the first time you're telling me this.
Yes.
You see the goosebumps on my arm?
Dude,
That shit is creepy.
I was fucking terrified. Like,
Yeah.
I was so scared. And it was just me, and my dogs are upstairs freaking out this whole time.
They're still
Who knows
hearing
what.
the chain rattling and everything upstairs. So, like, oh, our humans downstairs with this weird noise. What the hell's going on?
I can't, and still to this day, I think about it almost daily, trying to
Just
what
fathom,
could it be?
yeah, fathom.
But I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know. It felt like something was there to hurt me, which is the first and only time I've ever felt. I've seen apparitions, full figures in my kitchen standing before, and I never felt the fear that I felt that night in my basement.
And it hasn't happened
And
since.
never again.
So you you put the bass of your voice in, and it's like, all right.
It was done, I guess. Yeah, like, I don't know what.
So speaking of these apparitions, let's dive into that.
So I always see things out of the corner of my eye. That's
Okay.
just always something my brain just tries to push it aside. It's nothing. So I've had 2 serious instances where I actually saw it head on.
Okay.
So the one time I was sitting on my couch, and my couch was facing my kitchen at this time, and I'm just watching TV or something. I'm not even sure what I was doing, but I look over to the right at the doorway, and I see this. It looked like a rounded, square, black mass, like maybe this high off the ground, like maybe 5 foot tall, but it was rounded, square, and it was just chilling there. And it was so weird. And I look at it, I look down, I look up instantly because my brain clicks, and I still see it the second time, and then it just goes. I just look down and it's gone.
Now, question: was this after or before the chain rattling?
This was after. So I had another instance before, which was maybe a year before the chain thing. So again, I'm sitting in this same spot on my couch.
Maybe you need to get rid of that couch.
I've had multiple couches since. So I'm sitting on my couch watching TV, and I look into the kitchen, and I see this figure. And I had to draw it, and I wish I brought the book, but I could send you a picture of it.
Okay.
So and then you could put it on here.
Yeah,
I couldn't get it out of my head, James, for days. It was driving me crazy because I saw it. And so you have the doorway, and then you have my refrigerator right up against the doorway here.
Mm-hmm.
So it peeked out from my refrigerator. It was as tall as my refrigerator.
So the refrigerator's run about 5.5 feet tall.
Right?
Yeah.
It's taller than me, you know?
Yeah.
So I saw the shape of its head, and I saw its arm like reach around the refrigerator to be like looking at me, and you could see the space between the arm. You could see my cabinets through the space. Like, you saw his arm, like the figure of an arm and his head.
Now, was it blacked out?
It was black, solid black. Like a dark mist.
Though in the paranormal realm, those are called shadow people.
Right.
And those are malevolent spirits.
I've heard that.
Now,
but I didn't feel unsafe.
When it was looking at you didn't feel like it was...
I was scared because what is that? You know? Right, and my brain is trying to, it's a shadow. You
didn't get that feeling that you got with the chain rattling.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. I didn't get that feeling. And then there was one other time in my living room where I felt out of nowhere this extremely heavy, depressing,
like an oppressive feeling.
Yeah, like the air just got so fucking heavy for a second.
You can curse on the show.
Okay.
You can curse on the
I know I've
show.
already done it a million times. But like the air just got so fucking heavy, and I couldn't explain it, and I felt this depression, sad, and that was a couple days after I saw that guy in my kitchen.
Okay.
So people have told me that it could be something bad. Yeah. But again, the only time I've ever felt like it was something was trying to hurt me was that chain in the basement, the chain bucket, whatever that was. So
now, you grew up there with your sister, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did your sister ever see anything weird?
So my family, a lot of us, they'll tell you the same stories. We would have upstairs it would happen more than anything. We had like a Barney doll.
Okay.
It would randomly go off at all hours of the night, during the day. My stepbrother had a Yankee clock that would randomly, out of nowhere, just do weird things. We had a bunch of toys that would just, out of nowhere, just act up and start, whatever they were doing, singing or whatever.
Almost like poltergeist. That sounds almost like poltergeist stuff.
It was really crazy. This was, and I don't know why most of this happened when all of us were living there. Because, like, right now, it's just me and my fiance and my dogs. And I don't see or hear as much as I used to.
It's not as active as before.
Right. Now,
maybe it's because there's not as many people living in
that's what I was thinking, too. There's not much activity and energy going through the house anymore. It's just us two.
Yeah.
But he does not believe in any of this stuff. And
I know Andy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in it, but we'll be laying in bed at night, and he'll be like, "That didn't happen. That didn't happen." I'm like, "You all right? What's the matter?"
He's one of those guys that talks himself out of the shit.
Yes, always. And he's like, "Something just touched me," but we're not going to talk about it. We're not like something touched his arm as we're laying in bed. He's felt people sit on the bed before. While and he doesn't believe. He doesn't want.
How is he? He's just like, no,
he wants nothing.
I don't want
I have to
do
pry it out of him, James. If something happens, he won't tell me. He's. I think he's just scared of that stuff, the unknown.
So he potentially might be having some really crazy shit happen to him, and he's just not telling you.
Right, he's not saying anything.
He wants no part of it.
He wants no part of it at all. He's. I went on that ghost hunt that couple of months ago, and he would not have any part of that. He wants nothing to do with anything like that.
So speaking of ghost hunt, Tiara recently went to the Mid Hudson Psych ghost hunt, and want to tell us a little bit about that?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Anybody who's into that, I strongly suggest it. The people were very professional. We did hear a lot of voices. There was a lot of like flashlights turning on and off where they asked questions. It was definitely a completely different experience from the amateur ghost hunting that I've done in my home or at a friend's house or something.
Well, with the shit in your house, I don't know if it's amateur.
I know, and that's a thing too, because as children we would ghost hunt.
Yeah.
We would play with the Ouija board in the basement. I know, trust me, I know now.
Is your basement your most active area?
I don't think the basement is the most active area. I think there's something in that hallway just because of the way I feel. What happened in that basement that day, I don't know, James, and I don't.
When you go down there, do you still get kind of a malevolent feeling down in the basement?
I feel like it's a normal basement feeling. You know how you go downstairs and you turn something off and then you run upstairs and you're scared, so you go quick. It's like that. You know, like would I want to be like locked down there in the pitch black all alone? No, I would not.
Okay.
But I don't feel like, I'm not terrified to go down there.
Mm-hmm.
Except that one day where I was terrified completely about everything. But it's not. I don't feel that really anywhere except the hallway, which I just always feel is heavy.
I wonder what could be in that hallway.
When my dad redid the bathroom upstairs.
Well, people say when you start remodeling houses and stuff, the activity starts ramping and kicking up.
I believe that. I do. So he was redoing the bathroom upstairs, which there's this little closet off that hallway, and the bathroom's right above it.
Yeah.
So he found this picture. It was a painting, like a very old painting of it looked like a young boy, and he was in like, how they used to dress the kids in like the white dresses, even if they were boys back in the day with like a little bonnet.
That's from like the 1800s,
He found a picture of I still have the picture. It's in one of my closets packed away because it's absolutely terrifying. But he found it in the wall. Like
in the wall?
In the wall when he was redoing our bathroom upstairs.
So somebody took the time to plaster over, put this picture there, and then put something over it, cover it.
Right,
get rid of that damn picture.
I know. I haven't looked at it in years, but it's in the closet in the back of that hallway. It's in one of the bedrooms in that hallway, back in the closet. Now,
there's you haven't seen any activity in that said bedroom that closet's in?
Not that that was my sister's room growing up, and we don't go in there. It's just the two of us, so we use living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. Yeah. We don't even go into the spare bedrooms most of the time. It's an office, but it's more like a storage. So if something's happening over there, I wouldn't even know,
So back to your sister. You told me when all you guys were in the living house, you would have experience. Did she ever sit you down and be like, yo, this happened to me?
So as a kid, there was one story that she told and nobody believed her. And I even really at the time didn't believe her because we were all young.
Yeah.
She told me that there was this one time she was going upstairs, where the bedrooms are, and she went upstairs and she saw this older gentleman with he was actually white see-through kind of it was
Okay.
a white mist that you could see through, and he had a beard and a mustache, and she said he kind of looked like Santa Claus a little bit, you know. So, and she was another one who, unless I see it with my own eyes, I don't believe anything, you know. So for her to say that, it made me think, too, I'm not really alone with having these feelings that I'm having here in this house.
So you've had experiences.
Yes.
Your sister's had experiences. Your dad has experiences, and your dad found a creepy ass painting in the wall, which that's sketchy as shit.
It is.
What about your mom?
So my stepmother, actually, she had multiple experiences where my dad would get up and go to work, and she would feel somebody pushing on the bed, like he came back and sat back on the bed.
So what time would your dad go to work?
Probably 4:35 a.m.
And then around that time, somebody...
She thought he came back. A couple times she said this happened. She thought he came back and sat on the bed, which would be weird because she heard him leave, So she's had that, and she's also had experiences where she's brought us all to school. She's come back home to get ready for her job, and she hears little girls. There's a little girl. It's like, hey, mommy, hey, mommy.
So smaller than the 14-year-old girl.
Yes, right, exactly. She said it sounded like a little toddler kind of crying, saying, hey, mommy, hey, mommy. So, and she's another one who doesn't really believe in that kind of stuff. But
if I can't touch it, it's not real.
Right, exactly. So she tells that story sometimes, so everybody that's lived in my home has something. Even, my fiance, who is the most, I don't believe in any of this shit, period.
Yeah. For
him to be touched, for him to see things, it's like he doesn't, when I go away, he's not happy sitting in that house by himself.
So does he, when you say leave, when you go away out or off on a trip or something, does he stay in the house, or does he go stay with his brother or something like that?
So we very rarely separate. We do things a lot together, but there are times that I have gone, and seemingly during those times he goes on a trip with his friends, or he's going to hang out at his buddy's house for all Saturday night.
You're going here. I'm going to go hang out with Tom for the day.
I don't know if that's just a coincidence, or if he's doing that because he's scared.
I think that's a subconscious reaction.
And you know him; he's a big guy, so he's not scared of anything.
He's 6'3", 6'4", but
So for him to be scared, it's
wow. I really wouldn't expect him. I expect that. Now, so that's the haunted house. Has anything else paranormal ever happened to you? UFOs, cryptids. I know you like to go camping, and I keep telling you.
I know not to do it.
Don't keep telling me.
I know, and you would think because of the amount of camping that I have done, especially on state land, that I would have seen or heard something, but
I have nothing yet.
But I have nothing, and I don't know if that's because my dogs are with me 24/7, and maybe something smells them and they're scared, or maybe I just haven't,
been in the right area.
Right, or I haven't been more open to it. Honestly, the relationship that you and I have, I'm more open to things like that because
that's all
some of the exactly it's all you talk about exactly. So, I mean, other than that though, I don't know if I'm more open to the paranormal.
Well, you might be an empath, a sensitive.
I could definitely see that because I mold to people. If there's somebody who's in a really bad mood or they're super negative,
it reflects right on you.
Exactly, in a heartbeat. So I think about that too. Is that and then I've heard stories about how they can harm you, these paranormal things.
Yeah. And
I think about my dad died of a heart attack at 45. And I can't help but think in the back of my head that
maybe something paranormal had to.
He lived in that house. He worked.
Now, how long was he in the house before he passed?
So 93 to 2011.
Okay, so that's quite.
That's enough time for God. If it's a thing where they drain you or they.
Oh, it happens.
It happens. That I think about that, whether that's accurate or not. He was a very stressed guy. He did drink a lot. That could also be part of it, but part of it. In my head is...
Well, you can't help but subconsciously think maybe something weird had something to do with that, and that's completely understandable.
But then I feel also I would feel that scaredness and unsafeness in my own home.
Yeah.
if it were something like that, but I don't know, man. There was one time when I first moved in where we were sitting there watching TV. There's another time. So we're sitting there watching TV this one time, and out of nowhere we hear 3 loud knocks, and that's a bad sign. I've heard a million places that's a real bad sign. And that's one of the first times that I actually, I called my stepmom, and I was like, hey, I need a Bible. I need a crucifix. I'm getting a little scared.
Okay.
Because I saw these people. This was before the basement thing. And then the 3 knocks. It was terrifying. So that was one time I was very scared.
You were still living by yourself at that time?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yep. So there was this one time where, so when my dad passed away, my stepmom and my siblings lived in that house, obviously. Mm-hmm. So I came up from Rockland. I was going back and forth a lot. And I'd come up for the weekend. I'd go to Rockland, work for the week, come up on the weekend. So we're all hanging out on the weekend, and we're all just sitting in the living room watching TV bullshit, and the stereo comes on. Out of nowhere, it's a big boombox stereo my dad had. Comes on, blaring, and it says, "Do you believe in God?" And then it shut off. So me and my siblings,
are you shitting me?
We didn't know what to do. There was 6 of us in the room because I have 4 step siblings, and we had a bunch of people. We're all just hanging out.
And you're all just looking at each other like, what?
It was so creepy, and for it to just be like, "Do you believe in God?" and then shut off. What was that?
This is after your dad passed?
This was after my dad passed.
How long after?
Not long, because they only lived there for maybe 6 months after. So it had to have been between that, 6-month area, because they were living there at the time.
So how long, after everybody's moved out and everything like that, how long have you been in the house without everybody else?
So it's been since, let's just say 2012, let's say.
You've been in it since 2012?
I mean, we moved in 93. I moved away after high school for 4 or 5 years, Rockland, and then I came back in 2011.
How much, so when you moved in by yourself, how much time did you spend in the house by yourself up until?
Not much at the time when I was single, because I didn't really want to be by myself, after, breaking up with my ex-husband and everything. So I would try to find things to do. I'd go to my mom's house. I'd have a lot of people over all the time. There was always somebody coming over for coffee in the morning. And, I tried to fill that. But honestly, getting my dogs has
helped out a lot.
A huge amount. Because I remember being completely alone in that house.
Early warning systems.
Yeah, it really is. So.
Wow. Well, see, we're going on a half hour here. I thank you for telling me the story. It's the first time I've heard it. Shit gave me goosebumps. You saw that on my arm. Shit's crawling up the back of my spine.
Yeah, I don't tell that story too often just because it's terrifying. I was scared.
I really appreciate you digging in the crates for that story. I really do. Listen, keep an eye out. Stay the hell out of the woods.
Yeah, and I'm actually going camping the first week in November again.
So. Oh, yeah? Yeah? Where at?
Up by Kingston, a half an hour outside of Kingston.
Okay. Yeah. Before we end here, the video I was telling you about yesterday, the thing on the Orange County, look that up and then let me know what you think about it tomorrow.
I'm gonna look, and I'll send you that picture of that figure that I just had
to
draw because I couldn't get it out of my head.
I'm gonna add it right to this.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I want to thank T again for coming on the channel, and thank you everybody for listening. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And this has been an impromptu interview number 7. Thank you guys, and see you later.
Thank you.